Hey guys, welcome to another video. In today's video we're gonna be making like damage effects. So the lower the HP you have, there's gonna be like maybe blood on the screen, blurrier and all that stuff. So let's get started with that. The first thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna add lighting, or I'm gonna add blur into lighting because I want to make the person not be able to see as well the more damage they take. Just gonna go to properties and set that to 0 so the person can see by default. You can make like some blood effect, but I don't know if I'm gonna make that, but I can definitely try. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go in the starter player, and then we're gonna go start a character scripts. We're gonna hit the plus and we're gonna insert a local script. I'm just gonna rename this to damage effects. Now I'm going to remove print hello world, and let's start off with some variables. So since this is a local script, we're going to do local player equals game.players.local player, local health equals player.character.humanoid.health. So this makes a variable and gets the local player and stores it into a variable called player. Then this gets the player's character's humanoid, and then the health that's stored inside of the humanoid's properties and putting it into a health variable. So now we can do, let's make one more variable or two more. Local character equals player.character, and local humanoid equals character.humanoid. Or I'm just gonna do character wait for child humanoid, and then I'm just gonna do right here humanoid dot health. So we're gonna wait for the child called humanoid to be added into the player's character. I'm just gonna add a like 1 second delay right here just to prevent any problems from occurring. Task.wait is just a more precise waiting period, so we're just gonna add that. So now we need to get when the player's health is changed. So this is a little bit different than checking if stats or number values are changed. Instead of doing something like humanoid.health.changed, there's actually a whole function just called health changed that we can just connect into a function real quick. It's just altogether health changed. So this gets when the player's health is changed. Like let's say the player has 1 HP and then it increases to 2, so that's the health changing to a different value. So now we can apply our effects. So we can do an if statement to check if the player's health is, let's say, greater than 50. So if health is greater than 50, then so if it's greater than 50, let's make one more variable. This variable is if you have blur, which I do, so I'm just gonna add this variable. Local blur equals game.lighting.blur.size. So then right here what I'm gonna do is blur equals 0. So if the player's health is over 50, then they're fine, there's not gonna be any blur. Else if health is less than 50, then blur is going to equal, let's say 5, or let's make that like 7. And if you want to make this more secure or like less buggy, you could say, you can do and health is greater than 25. So if it's greater than 25 but it's less than 50, then the blur is 7. Else if health is less than 25, then blur equals 15. So this is if the player's health is between 50 and 25, this is if it's less than 25, and this is if it's greater than 50. So that's our basic effect done for this. If you want, you can like go in a starter GUI, insert a screen GUI, and then insert, let's say, a frame. You could just like, I guess, make this frame red. This is one way you can make a blood effect. I've never actually made one, so it's gonna be kind of bad, but just add a couple frames around the place, I guess. As long as it works, it works. gonna add something kind of like this. Just make it like, yeah, like this. And if you want, you can put these all in a folder. Just put them in here. And let's say you can make like these two visible at first, and then if the player gets even less health, these two is gonna be visible. That's just an example of what you could do. I'm not gonna like skip this because this UI is kind of terrible and it will take a lot of time to set that UI up. But yeah, that's when we could add like a blood effect, or we could just take a blood effect from the toolbox, which is kind of an option, blood UI. But instead of doing that, we're just gonna carry on. So if we want to actually test this damage effect, we're gonna need something to take damage from. So I'm gonna insert a part real quick. Gonna make sure it's anchored. Just going to, oops, didn't mean to open that. Just gonna make it a little bigger. Make it red. So this is going to be my damage part. I'm gonna hit the plus, insert a service script, rename this to damage player, and then we can just do script.parent.touched connect function hit. Whatever touches this part, which is the script's parent, is going to be attached to a hit parameter. I'm going to do local player equals game get service players, get player from character, hit dot parent. So we're getting a service called players that's inside of the game, and we're gonna get the player from character. If the player's leg touches the part, then the parent of the leg is gonna be the character. Then we can do if player, then we're making sure it's the player because we don't want to try and damage a part. Like let's say another part touches this part, it's gonna run this script for that part, so it's gonna try and decrease the health for it even though it doesn't actually have any health. So we're making sure it's a player so we can actually decrease its health. Then we could do player dot character dot humanoid dot health minus equals, and let's say like 5. So this is like the same thing as just subtracting 5 from any number, or you could do player.character.humanoid dot health equals player.character.humanoid dot health minus 5. It's the same thing, it's just kind of a little bit simpler. So that should just be our damage script right there, and then our blur script over here. So let's go ahead and pop in the studio and give this a try. So as you can see, we can see perfectly fine. Now let's take some damage. Oh, we're not getting any more blind. We should actually change something real quick, because in our script, if we die, then we're gonna have a problem. The player's health or the player's blur, or they're not going to be able to see even though their health is back to 100. They're only going to be able to see when it decreases again. So what we can do is down here we can do humanoid dot died, and then connect it to a function. So humanoid dot died connect function. Then here we could just do blur equals 0. So I'm gonna make sure I have this blur in here. Size, yep. And instead of having this size here, I'm gonna remove that and just change everything here to blur dot size. And so if health is less than 50 and health is greater than 25, I'm just gonna remove this and, since it works quite well without the and anyways. Health is humanoid dot. Hey guys, sorry for that cut, but there was a little bit of a problem. We're not actually just gonna put these into a variable. Instead, we're just going to, we can comment this out by selecting it and hitting Control/. And instead of humanoid, here we're just gonna do character dot humanoid. Here we're gonna do character.humanoid.health. Can go ahead and copy this, and I'm gonna paste this into these parts, and then character.humanoid down here. I'm gonna increase these, so I'll make this like 13 and this 25, and you can remove these lines if you like. Now let's go ahead and give this a try. Let's see here. So let's take some damage. As you can see, we can see it's getting much blurrier, and then once we die, we're able to see again. And we're getting blurrier, and then we die. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and hopefully it helped you. And yeah, see ya.